Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We will chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vitvishavahay. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We will chant from verses 1 to 5 of chapter 3. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Na karmanam anarambhat.
Na karmanam anarambhat.
Naishkarmyam purushošnute.
Naishkarmyam purushošnute.
Nacha sanyasanadeva.
Nacha sanyasanadeva.
Siddhim samadhigacchati.
Siddhim samadhigacchati.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi.
Jatu tishtatya karmakrit.
Jatu tishtatya karmakrit.
Karyate hyavashah karma.
Karyate hyavashah karma.
Sarva prakriti jair gunaihi.
Sarva prakriti jair gunaihi.
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So we are doing the very first verse of chapter 3, wherein it starts off with Arjuna asking a question. Arjuna Uvacha. Now, why is Arjuna Uvacha so significant? I'm not talking of merely the phrase, but the fact that Arjuna is asking a question. Why is that so significant? The reason is, if Arjuna Uvacha is not there, then Shri Bhagavan Uvacha will not be there. If Arjuna hadn't asked these questions, Krishna wouldn't have given any answer. And if Krishna wouldn't have spoken, there wouldn't have been any Bhagavad Gita. It is only after Arjuna spoke that Krishna spoke. The entire first chapter, actually, it was Arjuna who was speaking. Then in the second chapter, in the beginning of the second chapter, Krishna spoke for 2 verses. Again Arjuna spoke. He surrendered. He said, "You guide me." Then only Krishna spoke. And here, when it comes to the very sacred sadhana of Karma Yoga, again Arjuna is asking the practical, regarding the practical application, and then Krishna speaks. So we give a lot of value to Arjuna because it was Arjuna who was instrumental in bringing out the wisdom from Krishna. See, a master has infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom. It is the student who has the capacity to bring out that wisdom from the master. When the student is fully ready, the wisdom flows from the master. According to the level of the student, that level of wisdom will manifest. No master wants to teach because, as I've always been telling you, a master never considers himself as a master. It is the world which recognizes. But otherwise, a true guru is very humble. He is just united with the infinite. It is the infinite alone which is the guru, which is the teacher. When we go to the next chapter, Krishna will actually be saying that. It's very interesting. When we come there, we'll see that. So many people who are very devoted to Lord Krishna, they tend to put down Arjuna. They say, oh, Arjuna is wasting his time. Actually, one person asked me this question some time back. He said, Bhagavad Gita is so wonderful, but entire first chapter is such a waste of time. We have to hear what Arjuna has to say. That is a wrong approach. Actually, the first chapter is very significant because it gives you the condition of the human mind, what exactly the problem of the mind is. Every time when Arjuna speaks, it's very significant because depending on what Arjuna is going to speak, now Krishna is going to speak suitably. So we should be eternally grateful to Arjuna first. Because without Arjuna Uvacha, there is no Krishna Uvacha, when Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. In the ancient wisdom, so much of emphasis is laid on the Guru, to take the blessings and receive the divine grace of the Guru when we embark on the spiritual path. But what is interesting is the student is also glorified. Many people don't talk about that. But the fact is, the student is also great. A true Shishya, a true student. Why is he great? Because he is the person who is instrumental in bringing out the wisdom from the master. Just imagine, in this scenario, if there was no Arjuna, then we wouldn't have had the Bhagavad Gita. So when we go to the Upanishads, they glorify the student, they praise the student. In one Upanishad, he says, a famous householder, Shaunaka, he went to the master. Famous student, famous person. They glorify the student. The master, when he addresses the disciple, he says, "Oh, handsome youth, hear this truth from me." So why is it that in the Upanishad they are glorifying the student? Because the student goes all the way, leaving his other work and all that, he goes all the way to the Himalayan forest in search of this wisdom. In the good old days, during the Upanishadic times, the students used to expose themselves to a lot of risks in search of a master. To get a true master is the greatest blessing in someone's life. So they used to go, and after many months, sometimes years of search, if their karmas are good, they may get a master, and then they ask their questions to the master. The master doesn't answer directly. Actually, in one Upanishad he says, ask me after 1 year. That's a test which the master gives to the student to see whether the student is really seeking. Exactly after 1 year, the student asks the question. For 1 year, he serves the master, even though the master doesn't need that, but he takes care of the master, serves him in every way possible. And then after 1 year, he asks the question. And then the Upanishad starts. So if the student does not have that seeking, the master is not going to give. Even though the entire wisdom is there, that wisdom will never manifest. So in our ancient wisdom, we not only bow down to all the great masters, all the gurus, but we also bow down to all the great students who were instrumental in bringing out the wisdom from the master. Actually, during Guru Purnima time, when we say we bow down to all the gurus, all the masters, the students are also included. See, now don't get me wrong, you as a student should not glorify yourself. That is not what is being said here. I am saying the role of a student, if you look at it objectively, the role of a student is very, very powerful in bringing out the wisdom from the Guru. In the Gita Dhyanam, he compares Arjuna to a calf. Now, why is he comparing Arjuna to a calf? In the presence of a calf, the cow will just give milk. The milk will flow from the cow naturally. So, in the presence of a true student, the wisdom will naturally start flowing from the Guru. There is no choice. See, Krishna was such a great soul. He was an avatar, the direct manifestation of the infinite. Yet, how many people did he speak to? Hardly a few. Speak to means, how many people did he give this wisdom to? When Arjuna asked him, he gave. Prior to this, there is a portion in the Bhagavatam where the gopis ask him, what is unconditional love? And he explains to them how love can be selfish, how love can be unselfish, love can also be selfless. So there he speaks. Then when Arjuna asks him, again he gives up. That is the Bhagavad Gita. After this, it is only in the end, just before he leaves the physical body, his dear friend Uddhava approaches him and asks him. He seeks the wisdom, and then Krishna gives him the highest wisdom. Because Uddhava says, Krishna, once you go away, how can I live in this world? I can't imagine a life without you, Krishna. All my life you've been my friend, you've been my guide, you've been my inspiration, you've been my source of happiness. Now suddenly you are going to leave your body. How can I live in this world? Then Krishna gives him this ancient wisdom. He says, if you are truly my friend, if you're truly my student, then you should practice whatever wisdom I'm giving you. It is in the power of a master is in the wisdom which he gives. It is not merely in glorification of the personality of the master. That is called the Bhagavad Gita. The same truth is only given. The emphasis in Bhagavad Gita is slightly different because the context was different. But otherwise, wisdom doesn't change. So that is why I said Arjuna Uvacha is a very, very powerful sadhana for all the sadhaks. Arjuna Uvacha means, how do you, what is the energy behind those two words? It means being a perfect student, seeking the higher, seeking the right solutions to your problems so that you can merge with the infinite. The more you start developing that attitude, then you will start attracting the wisdom from you. The Guru Shakti will have to help you. This is the law of life. Just as when you keep on boiling the water, at 100 degrees it has to now become water vapor. There is no choice. That is how this is called niyati. Niyati means the law. That is what has been ordained. Similarly, the law is that to the extent the student seeks, to that extent the Guru has to give the wisdom. I am deliberately using the word has to, because the Guru has no choice there. If the Guru is not giving, it means the student is not seeking, assuming that that person is a true Guru. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, they glorify Lord Narayana. Now, one day, Lakshmi asks Narayana, is there anyone who is greater than you, who is more powerful than you? Narayana says yes. And who is more powerful than me? It is my devotees, he says. It is their devotion which gives me the power. Goddess Lakshmi is fascinated. See, it's a drama, these conversations and all that between the gods and goddesses, that is meant to give certain principles, So everyone praises Lord Narayana, but whom is he praising? He praises the devotees, because he says the strength of devotion is so high that it gives the power to the God. So when you glorify Lord Narayana, the devotee also gets glorified. And that is why he says, if you bow down to a true devotee, then you are bowing down to me, he says. So why is the devotee glorified there? Because without a devotee, the power of the God is not going to be manifest. Without a student, there is no teacher. There is no role for a teacher. So we are eternally grateful to all the great sadhaks of the past, all the great students, shishyas, who were all instrumental in bringing out this highest wisdom from these masters. That is why I said Jayasi. See, Arjuna uses the word Jayasi, which is superior. But actually, nothing is superior and inferior. See, when we say higher, lower, it is in terms of subtlety and power, that's all. But that doesn't mean that is superior, there is no differentiation in that way. Similarly, who is great, the student or the master? How do you determine this? That's why Saint Kabir, he said, Guru Govind dono khade. Both my Guru and Govinda. See, generally we say student is here, then the Guru, and then higher than the Guru is God, right? But he says both Guru and Govinda are in front of me. Now, whom should I worship? Balihari Guru Aapne. He says, my salutations to you, O Guru, because it is you who showed me Govinda. It is you who took me to God. He says there, it's a very powerful verse. It's a very powerful doha which Kabir composed. It's the same logic there. The Guru and the students, let us say Krishna and Arjuna are standing. Now whom am I to bow down to? I bow down to Arjuna first, because without Arjuna we wouldn't have got this wisdom of Krishna. So this is the essence of yogic approach, eking out the messages from every experience of life, just as we are learning from every word of the Bhagavad Gita. You should start learning from every experience in your life. Don't just pass by your life mechanically in a hurry. You will miss so many wonderful things. So Arjuna Uvacha, in spite of all the faults which a student may have, we bow down to all the students. Because if a student doesn't have any faults, then he is no longer a student. He has already reached the highest. So the strength of a student is in his seeking. See, even when I say we are grateful, to the students, we bow down to the students. What it means is we bow down to the seeking, the principle of seeking in a student. Without seeking, the person is no longer a student. The person is just a normal person who is not seeking anything. But the moment a person starts seeking the higher, then that gives him the power to attract the Guru Shakti. How much of power a student has. Later on, Krishna will be saying that. It is you just develop few qualities and become a wonderful student, the wise people will come and teach you. The wise Guru will come and teach you. So you have the power to attract the Guru Shakti, provided you practice this sacred sadhana of seeking. So Arjuna Uvacha represents seeking within you. So don't just pass it off by saying Arjuna said something. Pause there. Absorb that energy. See, the more you absorb it, the more you will be able to attract the Guru Shakti. As we go along, whatever limitations which Arjuna has in terms of his analysis, all that we'll be seeing. But all that is not to put down Arjuna. It is because of those limitations, it's because of those faults that he is seeking guidance. There's nothing wrong with that. See, when a student goes to a master, one of the greatest blocks which a student faces is he tries to hide things from the master, hide his faults. The moment you try to hide something from your master, then you're getting disconnected. Even though physically you may be moving with your master, the master also may be talking to you, but spiritually you're getting disconnected. The fact that Arjuna is asking whatever, he is ready to exhibit his ignorance to Krishna. That shows he does not want to hide anything. Why is it so absurd to hide something from your master? Because there is nothing wrong with having faults, with having negative things. If you don't have the negative things, then why do you require this wisdom? Why do you need to go to a master? And a true master is totally non-judgmental. But it is because of the lack of devotion, the lack of surrender, that a person tries to hide. So it is not so easy to practice the subtler sadhana of Arjuna Uvacha, which I am giving you. It will be difficult, but practice it. So Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna said, If you consider knowledge superior to action, O Janardana, then why do you engage me in this terrible action, O Keshava? So, if you consider knowledge superior to action, last week I was explaining to you, Jayasi means superior. So, Krishna does not consider knowledge as superior or action as inferior and all that. See, when it comes to superiority or inferiority, there is no meaning. It is just a question of what is suitable to whom at that particular time. During breakfast time, breakfast is important. During sleep time, sleep is important. During exercise time, exercise is important. During Yoga Sankirtan time, Yoga Sankirtan is important. The sadhana of Yoga Sankirtan is the highest sadhana. See, the word higher is different from superior. And we are just making the distinction. If you want, you can use the words interchangeably. But to make you understand the concept, we are defining it that way. So higher means subtler. It gives you more power. See, whether you take a PhD student or whether you take a 5th standard student, now both are equal in terms of being a human being. But PhD is a higher class. 5th standard is a lower class, not in terms of the lowering of the personality. This is what you need to understand. So without that understanding, Arjuna is projecting his mind, his ignorance onto Krishna, and he says, if you consider knowledge superior to action. So this is another weakness which we all have. We tend to project our minds onto others. Instead of seeing the world as it is, we see the world, we project our mind and see whatever we want to see in the world. The world actually is a projection of your own thoughts. There are good things in the world, there are bad things in the world. There are positive things, there are negative things. There are good people, there are bad people. There are wonderful experiences, there are sorrowful, miserable experiences. It is a question of what you see. Actually, if you want to know what your mind is, just look around and see what your perception is. What is it that you're noticing? What is the aspect of the world which you are experiencing day in and day out? All the time, if you're noticing, let us say, negative people, you're noticing the negativities which are happening in the world, immediately become alert as a sadhak. It means the mind is being negative. Yudhishthira was a classic example of that. See, one day, Lord Krishna called both Yudhishthira and Duryodhana. And he first he called Yudhishthira and he told him, listen, you just go around and find me one bad person and come and tell me. So Yudhishthira went around. Then he called Duryodhana and Krishna told him, Duryodhana, do me a favor, just go around and get me one good person. Tell me if you can find one good person. Duryodhana said, what is a big deal? It's so simple. So he also went in the other direction. So both of them kept traveling. They went around the whole place. And then first Yudhishthira came to Krishna and he was very dejected. He said, Krishna, you gave me such a small thing to do just to find one bad person. I have not been able to find. And after a while, Duryodhana came. He was also very dejected. He said, Krishna, you gave me such a simple job. I thought it's very easy. But I couldn't find even one good person. Everyone I met, some negativity that person had. The most interesting part is, when they were, Yudhishthira went in this direction and Duryodhana went in this direction. So they met each other when they were walking. And Yudhishthira couldn't find any, Yudhishthira didn't judge Duryodhana as a negative person, as a bad person. And Duryodhana didn't consider Yudhishthira as a good person. We know the Mahabharata story, how much of problems Duryodhana created for Yudhishthira. And not only that, when Duryodhana came and told Krishna, I am not able to find even a single good person, it means he is not considering Krishna also as a good person. So what does this show? It's a very, very interesting incident in the Mahabharata. The world is a projection of your thoughts. If you have a negative mind, you will see negativity everywhere. If you have a positive mind, you will see the positive things of life. If you are a businessman, you will see the whole world as a business only, business transaction. Everything will be a business transaction. I know a person who is very successful in business. He says, "Oh, I have my son, and I'm sending my son to study so that he takes care of my business later on." He sees anything which he does, there is always a condition. He sees the utility. If you are an artist, you will see the artistic aspect of the world. The entire world will be artistic for you. It is very interesting. Whatever your mind is, you project. So, whatever Arjuna has in his mind, he is projecting onto Krishna. And he says, if you consider knowledge superior to action. So, what is the sadhana tip there? The sadhana tip is, look at your own perception of your world. See, when you go into any new experience, what is the first thing that you notice? That is what your mind is. Are you constantly complaining about something or other in life? It means you need to purify your mind. So looking at your world, that is, the world is common to everyone, but your world means the world which you are experiencing, you can easily get a clue about what is happening inside you, what is the condition of your mind. It is worthwhile to do that sadhana. If your mind is divine, you will see divinity everywhere. That was the perception of all the great rishis, all the great siddhas, all the masters. They keep on bowing down, respecting and revering anyone who comes before them. Why? Because they see anyone as a manifestation of that infinite. That is why I said, in the ancient wisdom, the student is also glorified. When we as students, when we are trying to gain this wisdom, we should not glorify ourselves. That becomes ego. But we need to develop the divine vision. See, once you understand the principle, now you can use this principle to go on purifying your mind and making your mind so positive that you start experiencing positivity and happiness in the world. And then as a next step, you purify your mind further and make it so divine that you start experiencing divinity in the world. That will prepare you. So meditation is not merely when you keep your eyes closed and when you are connected there. No, even when you are experiencing the world, even when you are functioning in the world, you should maintain the divine perception. Actually, that is karma yoga. Yogastha kuru karmani. He said in the second chapter itself. It means be in the state of yoga and do all your actions. Be in the state of yoga means in that state of union with the infinite. It is through practice that you can master all this. So, if you consider knowledge superior to action, the word matam, last week I just started explaining that means opinion. It also means a thought. So it's commonly used as an opinion. Here Arjuna is using it in the sense of opinion only. Not only that, matam also incidentally means religious doctrine. So, see, every religion is nothing but the opinion of a master. That is why I always say spirituality should not be restricted to religion. Religion is when a particular master emphasized on a particular aspect of the truth because the people at that point of time required it. Same Krishna, when he was talking to the gopis, he emphasized on devotion, unconditional love. When he was talking to Arjuna, he emphasized on action because Arjuna required that. When he spoke to Uddhava, he emphasized on knowledge, wisdom, because that time Uddhava required that. So similarly, different masters came at different periods of time and emphasized on a particular aspect of truth. Jesus Christ emphasized on universal love. Buddha emphasized on meditation. Krishna kept emphasizing on different things depending upon whom he was speaking to. Now, what are we to practice? Everything has its place. It just depends on the context. So you should differentiate between matam, opinion, and the principles, general principles, which is nothing but the facts of life. So a master is firmly grounded on the basic principles of life. He is always factual. But when it comes to application, sometimes he may give his matam, opinion. Whatever will suit that particular person in that particular context. We see this in the 12th chapter. When we come to the 12th chapter, it is very interesting. Arjuna asks Krishna this question. Is form worship better or formless worship better? Many of you may be having that question. Which is superior? Again, Arjuna does not take out this concept of superior so easily. So he asks, which is better, form worship or formless worship? Krishna gives a very interesting answer. He says, form worship is better, Arjuna. This is my matam. The moment he says that, iti mama matam, he gives he ensures that, Arjuna understands that this is an opinion which he is giving based on that context. Form worship is better for whom? For Arjuna. Because you are at that level, Arjuna. In the very next verse he says, but the formless people also reach the highest. He gives the principle. So to ask the question, is form better or formless better, means to whom? For some people, form worship will be better because they are at that level, they require that. When you advance in spirituality, you may not require a form. You are able to directly relate to that formless reality. So it all depends on the context. So you need to differentiate between principles and opinions. So the problem is, the human mind tends to go merely by opinions without getting into the principle behind the opinion. See, when a master gives an opinion, there is always a principle based on which he gives that opinion. So what we should do, at least in the yogic approach, that's what we always do. We don't go by merely the external statements of the master, but we penetrate and go to the core principle. What is the principle which he is trying to convey? That is why yogic approach takes more time. Long back, when I was in Delhi, there were two youngsters who came to meet me, two friends. And one of the sadhaks, he said, "Sir, can I also be there? I said, we have to ask them, because in case they have come for something personal. So I asked them and they said that is fine. Because the sadhak just, he said, I want to note down the points which you are giving. It will be very useful. I said, fine. So they asked, the youngsters had come for advice. What do we need to do to grow spiritually? So to the first boy, I told him, you cut down on parties and all that and spend at least 1 hour every day alone by yourself. It's very important. And that boy said, yes sir, I'll do that. And then to the second boy, I said, for you to grow spiritually, you should make more friends. You should attend more parties. Now this sadhak was writing down the notes. So after both of them went away, he showed me that, sir, you're saying two opposite things. To that person you're saying cut down on parties, and to this person you're saying go to more parties, make more friends. No, I can't understand this. There's a very big contradiction. So then I explained to him, it is nothing. Once you understand the principle, it becomes very simple. The first person was an out and out extrovert. He was all the time a partying type, He didn't have that depth. So what will bring the balance for him? He has to cut down on that and spend some time with himself. He has to do the introverted sadhana. Whereas I asked him, didn't you observe the second person who came? He was a very shy person. By nature he was an introvert. He was so shy that he didn't even look at my eyes and he was not talking. He was always looking down, He lacked the confidence. So how to bring the balance in that person? Go out and meet more friends. See, the moment he does that, he will get that balance. He'll be able to do the sadhana better. So the principle there is bringing balance in your life. So if a person is on this side, the matam, the opinion will be move to the right. If a person is on the right side, the opinion will be move to the left. So which is true? Should I move to the left or should I move to the right? It depends on where are you. So whenever a master gives an opinion, understand that that is a practical application of some principle in that particular context. So if you should not go merely by the letter of the scriptures and try to practice it mechanically now. That is why this wisdom has got lost. See, many people, they say, we have to do this in the name of spirituality. They say you have to do. Why? Because it is said in the Shastras. Without trying to find out what is the principle, they just go by mere external lifestyle and they say we have to practice the same things now. Otherwise, you're not being spiritual. This is a concept which many people have. So as a sadhak, come out of that. The principles will be the same, but the application of the principles will have to vary according to the place, according to the times. There is nothing wrong in adapting. Actually, if you go to the very many rituals which were performed in the pre-Vedic times, they were different from what was performed during the Vedic times. According to the times, you need to change many things, but you should never ever compromise on the higher principles of life. So a master is always firm on the principles. He never ever compromises. But when it comes to application, he is very flexible. So that is the sadhana you should do. You should gain this wisdom and get attuned to the infinite and the various higher principles of life. But you should also put an effort to see how you can apply those principles in different ways in your life. Give unconditional love. Start with your family members. This is the principle. Now, how will you do that in your family? It depends upon your family members. One person may relate to certain expressions of love. Now, you will have to give unconditional love through those expressions only. If the other person values a birthday card a lot, now you can't go and give a lecture to the other person. What is there in a birthday card? I am keeping you in my heart and all that. That will not work. If that person values that, then the application of your unconditional love should be in that way only. So the applications will vary. So in these Sunday sessions, the various principles are being given to you. Now the application, you need to do sadhana and find out how do I apply these principles in the various experiences of my life. So if you practice this in the right way, then you will become very, very practical in life. See, if you cannot be successful in the world, you cannot be successful in spirituality. Successful means, you have to play your roles properly. As a family person, you have to be a perfect family person. If as a husband, you need to be perfect husband. As a wife, you need to be a perfect wife. When I say perfect, you have to put in that effort. Again, don't be too harsh on yourself and say, oh, I have these faults, I am not perfect. It's not that. Trying, putting in that effort, You have to play your roles properly. When you're working in your office, you need to play that role properly. You can do all that only if you understand the difference between matam and principles. Later on in the other verses, when he talks of karma yoga, how you have to do your duties and all that, he will be giving so many principles actually of karma yoga. But it is not enough if you merely gather those principles. The yogic approach is not, we don't say that the wisdom is complete when you gain when you gain the principles, when you understand the principles. Your wisdom becomes complete only when you practice them in your life and you actually make them a part of you. So it is all based on this concept, that is the difference between principles and matam. So as a sadhak, what we understand of matam is application of principles. Where the opinion can be negative when it completely blinds you, or opinion can be positive if it is based on the higher principles. So when you come to a conclusion very fast and form an opinion, then there is no principle backing it. Then that causes your downfall. It does not help you. So it's we get so many tips from just by studying the psychology of Arjuna, because Arjuna represents the mind, the human mind. Arjuna is a person, he is a very nice person, but with various limitations. So by studying Arjuna, we get to know what our limitations are. And when we know what our limitations are, only then we can do the sadhana and break those limitations. So, if you consider knowledge superior to action, buddhihi, uses two words, buddhihi and karmanaha. Buddhi means knowledge, awareness, intellect, all these are included. Then he says, if and then, Janardana and Keshava, I'll take it separately. So then, why do you engage me in this terrible action? Tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi Keshava. Niyojayasi means ordering, prescribing, engaging, forcing. So why are you forcing me to do this ghora karma, he says. Karmani ghore means terrible action, frightful action. This is a very, very negative action. You're asking me to kill. Now he uses the word niyojayasi. Now niyojya actually means ordering, urging someone to do something, forcing, pushing, prescribing. Actually prescribing is more gentle. That is also a meaning of niyojya. But it means pushing another person, forcing another person. Now, what is interesting is, did Krishna come and start talking to Arjuna on his own, or did Arjuna seek advice from Krishna? It was Arjuna who went and asked advice from Krishna. Isn't it? Entire first chapter he was struggling and he started crying at one point of time with tears in his eyes. He couldn't find a solution to his problem. His emotions were taking him everywhere, taking his mind, and he became so highly stressed. So Arjuna was not able to handle the challenge. So he was the one who surrendered to Krishna, who bowed down and said, Krishna, if there is one person who can help me, it is you. Please help me. So it was Arjuna who sought help, who asked for guidance. And now, when Krishna is giving him guidance, suddenly Arjuna is saying, why are you trying to force me into this? He is using the word niyojayasi, niyojya. This is another weakness of the mind. See, the mind wants to somehow go away from the right path. So many a times when a master gives an advice to the student's ego resists that change. Now, for one moment, when the mind gets deluded, the student forgets that he is the one who has approached the master. So instead, the mind projects the weakness and thinks that the master is trying to force the student. A true master, will never ever force anybody. I told you, advice is never given, it is taken. See, the rule for us, for the yogis, is that we should never interfere with another person's karmas. Lord Krishna being an avatar, he is a supreme witness to everything which is happening. He is an epitome of Sakshi Bhav. Sakshi Bhav means just being a witness. A master is like the ocean. The ocean does not want to go anywhere. For those who approach the ocean for water, they can take how much ever water they want and go. In spirituality, there is no forcing whatsoever. Actually, after the whole message is over, in the 18th chapter, Krishna clearly says, whatever I have to say, I have told you everything, Arjuna. Now, yatha ichchasi tatha kuru. Means now do whatever your ichcha is, whatever you think is right. I have shown you the path. This is the beauty of spirituality. This is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma, the ancient wisdom. Why is it that a master never forces anything? Because anything which is forced has no effect. When I say you, I mean your mind. When your mind understands the value of something, and then when you do it willingly, that has a lot of power. But if you do something out of force, because somebody is forcing you, now you will not be able to continue in that path for long. That is why I tell the parents also, don't force your children to do anything. You know, one lady was telling me that, sir, every time her son was only 5 years or 6 years old, every time we give something to my son, that is, he gets a chocolate or he gets an ice cream, whatever it is, I immediately tell him, now go to the puja room and place it in front of God's idol and pray for 5 minutes. Say thank you for 5 minutes, and then you take it and eat it. The boy was only 5 years old. I wonder, I said, Amma, even though your intention is good, it's a very dangerous thing, because see, as a child, the child will be so excited with ice cream and chocolate and all that. Now, instead of allowing the child to enjoy, you're frustrating your son. After all, he's just 5 or 6 years old. To expect him to now go and stay for, pray for 5 minutes and all that and then have it, that is too much. When he becomes a teenager, he will completely go away from all this. He will resist whatever you say. So she asked me, so how do I inculcate the value? I said, that is not the time. Let him enjoy. Tell him, listen, now that you've enjoyed the chocolate, you've enjoyed the ice cream, just for a second, why don't you say thank you to God? Just say thank you to nature for providing you with this. That is fine, because they have enjoyed it. Now the mind will be calm. They will be in a position to practice. Anything which is forced will have the opposite effect in the long run. When you give that freedom to the other person, but at the same time keep exposing the other person to this wisdom, automatically that person will start following this. Freedom is a very important aspect when it comes to spiritual growth. But the ego tries, see here, this is one limitation of Arjuna. That is, he does not want to fight here. He wants to go away. Now, instead of saying, I don't want to fight, he is trying to put the blame on Krishna, and he says, why are you now forcing me to do this? Where did Krishna force him? It was Arjuna who asked for help. So, as a sadhak, remember this, a master never interferes with your karmas. It is you who need to walk this path. So every little thing, every sadhana which you're doing, everything which you're taking up should be out of a choice. It is you who have chosen to listen to this session right now. If you do your Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana tomorrow, it is you who is choosing this. Always bring that ichcha and do it. Whatever sadhana you're doing, don't do it mechanically. Understand it is a choice for you. Then that sadhana will become very powerful. So he says, Niyo Jayasi Keshava. You are trying to force me into action. Actually, why Arjuna is feeling that is, see, obviously by Krishna's body language, he has already conveyed to Arjuna that he doesn't think that whatever Arjuna is saying is right. So Arjuna wanted to shirk his duties. He wanted to run away from the battlefield, which is not actually good for him. It is not good for the society also. He is supposed to, see, he is standing on the side of righteousness. So he is supposed to fight that war because he was a warrior and resurrect righteousness, play his part, play his role. But he wanted to shirk his duties and run away. Now, obviously, Krishna would have conveyed that he is not supporting that with his body language itself. So that is why Arjuna is feeling that pressure. But actually, Krishna is not forcing. He is only trying to make Arjuna understand. Otherwise, why would he talk for so long? Why would he give the entire Bhagavad Gita? He could have just said, just do it, Arjuna. He could have, that is what is force. But he doesn't do that. He spends some time in making Arjuna understand so that when you willingly do something, that gathers a lot of power. So as far as the spiritual sadhana is concerned, understand the value of whatever you're doing so that you develop the willingness to do it. The more your ichcha, the more your willingness, the more consistent you will be in your sadhana. Now again, don't misuse this. You know, one person told me that, sir, in the last empowerment, he said, you always say that we should develop the ichcha and then do the sadhana. So I have not yet got the ichcha to do the empowerment. So I am just waiting for that. The moment I get it, I will register. So ichcha is, see, that is a misuse. Ichcha is something which you can develop right now. So the sadhana here is, you develop the ichcha, that is your willingness, your willful desires for all the positive things in life, for all the higher things in life. When it comes to the empowerment courses, those are very, very sacred and invaluable. So immediately, if you're truly attuned to the master, the moment the master suggests something or exposes you to a new sadhana, instantly you will develop the ichcha for it, understand the value, and you will go after it. That is what is a good student. Actually, Arjuna was a good student. When it came to learning archery, when it came to spirituality, he is struggling a bit because this is more subtle. So he says, Niyo Jayasi Keshava. Why are you trying to force me when Krishna is actually not forcing him at all? Why do you engage me in this terrible action? He uses the word ghora. Ghora means terrible, frightening. Literal meaning of ghora is something which is very frightening, terrible. Again, there is a misunderstanding. Later on, Krishna will be answering that. I am giving you the principle now itself, the gist of it. No action per se is good or bad. It is your bhavana motive that determines whether an action is good or bad. Supposing I describe an action which a person has performed. That person took the knife and he cut the another person's stomach, the abdomen area, he just cut that person there. Now, how would you call it a good action or bad action? All of you will immediately say it's a very bad action. But I was only explaining to you the operation which a doctor performed on his patient. Now, the moment that context is given, now that becomes a good action, because the motive behind that action was to save the patient, not to kill. Arjuna is in the state of delusion. He is thinking action per se is good or bad. Krishna is actually not asking Arjuna to kill. Krishna is actually not asking Arjuna to fight this battle. He is only asking Arjuna to play his role in resurrecting righteousness, dharma. All the methods were tried. Actually, before the war, Krishna went to the Kaurava camp on behalf of the Pandavas. He went as a peacemaker. And he tried to convince Dhritarashtra, father of Duryodhana, he tried to convince Duryodhana, saying that, see, this war is going to cause so much of damage to everyone. What is the necessity of that? Whatever is due to Pandavas, why don't you give them that, their kingdom, their share? They will also be happy, you will also be happy. Let everyone be happy now. But Duryodhana refused to listen to that. Actually, Krishna goes one step further. He says, Duryodhana, if you want to be the ruler, I will talk to Yudhishthira and convince him. Yudhishthira was elder to him. In spite of that, I will talk to him. You be the ultimate king. Just give them at least 5 places for them to stay. To which Duryodhana says, no, I will not give them even a small place to bury themselves after their death. I will not give them even a little bit of space to bury their bodies, he said. That was the extreme ego of Duryodhana. So Krishna had tried everything, but it didn't work. So the final option was war, which was then exercised. So Krishna's aim was not to fight. It was not to encourage war. No. His aim was to establish righteousness. That is why every avatar manifests. Avatar means avatarati iti. That avatarati means that which manifests. The infinite manifests into the finite form with full awareness. Such a person is called an avatar. What is the purpose? To establish righteousness. So again, Arjuna, out of his ignorance, he is not understanding all this. He doesn't have this higher understanding. He can only see whatever is in front of him. Oh, my cousins are there. He is not even seeing what are the atrocities they have performed. All that, for 1 second he forgot. He said, these are the people whom I know, and now Krishna is saying I should kill. Krishna never said you should kill. He said, get up and do your duties. Here you have a duty, that's all. If the other person embraces righteousness, then this war will be stopped. So what is the sadhana principle which we get from here? That is, no action is per se positive or negative. When you're doing your sadhana, it is not the external action which you're doing that determines whether you're doing sadhana or not. It is your internal attitude, your motive. So always check your motives. Whenever you're doing anything, check your bhavana. Anyway, this point is going to be repeated in many ways in the subsequent verses. So it will keep coming to you again and again, because that is a very, very important point. No action per se is good or bad. It is your bhavana, it is your motive which really matters. So as a sadhak, look into your bhavana. Make your bhavana very pure. Make your intention very pure. When your intention is pure, positive actions will start emanating from you. You will automatically start doing positive things. In spirituality, we aim at the internal purification, the purification of the intentions, of the bhavana. So then, why do you engage me in this terrible action? It's a complete misunderstanding. See, his misunderstanding is so deep. Number one, he is saying action is per se terrible. That is one wrong thing. Second thing, he feels Krishna is forcing him. Another misunderstanding. So in one statement, he is exhibiting so many misunderstandings. That is, the ignorance is complete, we can say. The previous statement, matam, Krishna is based on facts, whatever he says. But he thinks it is Krishna's matam. And then jayasi, and he feels this is superior and this is inferior. So in one verse, Vyasa has constructed in such a way that we get a complete picture of how ignorance can manifest. It becomes a wonderful verse for us to study what is happening within ourselves. See, when you understand the problem better, you will be able to get to the right solutions. That is why this entire analysis is being made. So if you consider knowledge superior to action, O Janardana, and why do you engage me in this terrible action, O Keshava? So Janardana means protector of people. Keshava, Krishna got the name Keshava because he killed a demon called Keshi. So that's why he is called Keshava. So on one hand, Janardana means protector. On the other hand, Keshava means killer. So that reflects Arjuna's mind. What are you, Krishna? Are you a protector or are you a killer? It's a very, see how by you using just those two names. See, otherwise why would Arjuna use two names in the same verse? It is redundant, no? If you look at it just superficially, first line he says, O Janardana, next line, O Keshava. What is the necessity? The deeper meaning is very interesting, because that is actually showing Arjuna's confusion. He is not able to understand whether Krishna is good or bad. He will never be able to understand. Unless you go to the level of Krishna, you cannot understand Krishna. Unless you go somewhere near the level of a master, you will not be able to understand the real near nature of a master. Yet that is what Arjuna is trying to do. So on one hand, you are a Janardana, you are a protector of people. On the other hand, Keshava, you are a killer. But see, 1 second Arjuna has forgotten that he killed only a demon, not the good person. There also the motive was good only. But yet this confusion is there. Are you a protector or are you a killer? I am confused. Even though he is not putting these in words, we can the psychology is so obvious. See, whenever you speak, a master never goes by the words which you use. He sees what is happening at the subconscious level. What is the kind of energy which you are having at the subconscious level? So when he says Janardana and Keshava, at the subconscious level, Arjuna is going through this confusion. That is why he is using two apparently contradictory names, but actually they are not contradictory. We'll stop with that today, because I'll explain this Janardana and Keshava in a more deep way in the next session, and then we'll move on to the next verse, where Arjuna will be continuing his question. In these two verses, we'll get a lot of psychological tips, practical tips, tools by which we can study our own minds and understand ourselves better. The more you understand yourself, the more you can grow spiritually. As I have told you, the Bhagavad Gita is not trying to understand a text outside. We are using the Bhagavad Gita to understand ourselves. In trying to understand Arjuna, as far as the yogic approach is concerned, I am saying, in trying to understand Arjuna, you are trying to understand your own mind. In trying to understand Krishna, what Krishna is saying, you are trying to unite with the infinite within you. This is the yogic approach. The moment you're trying to understand things externally, then that is no longer a sadhana. It is just an external research. So I have given a lot of points today. Reflect on those points, especially, the Gora Karma, the Niyojya, how anything forced does not have an effect. So your mind should never be pressurized. Whenever you feel pressurized to do something, you will not give it your best. Now your question would be, if something is good, but I'm feeling pressurized to do it, what should I do? Should I drop it? No. Try to gain knowledge and understand the value of good things in life. Then the mind will no longer be pressurized to do it. You will start willingly doing the right things. See, don't misuse this philosophy. So, supposing you say, let us say as a family man, you have certain duties to do in your family. Oh, I am very pressurized to do all this, therefore I will not do this. That is not what is being said. Good things which have to be done, that have to be done. Whatever you ought to do in life, you need to do them. But don't do them grudgingly. See, when you do it with a pressure, you will always be complaining. How do you remove that pressure? It is by gaining knowledge. When you gain knowledge and understand the value of whatever you're doing, then that Ichha Shakti, the pressure will go away and you will develop that Ichha, the willingness to do it. And with a lot of willingness, when you perform all your duties in life, you will become highly successful. You will not only be successful, you will also become very, very happy inside from within. It is that combination which we are trying to achieve in spirituality. So the idea of saying don't force, whether it is somebody else whether you're forcing some other person or whether you're forcing yourself, it is all one and the same. So the idea of saying don't use force is not to make you stop doing whatever you ought to do. It is the idea is to bring in more value to whatever you're doing. As long as Arjuna thinks that Krishna is trying to force him to act, he'll never be able to do his duties. But as the Bhagavad Gita progresses, Arjuna begins to understand that Krishna does not want to force anything. He is telling Arjuna because this is what is good for him. So when he begins to gain that knowledge, then willingly, in the 18th chapter, he says, all my moha is gone. Now I am ready. I want to fight this battle and I'm ready for this. I'm ready to do my duty. That willingness automatically comes. So think about all these points, even the Jayasi. I gave more subtler tips, Arjuna Vacha and all that today. So reflect on those points and start practicing them in your life. Okay, the more you do that, and when you come prepared next week, then I'll give you some more points. When we go to verse number 2, there are a few wonderful tips there. And when we really absorb the principles in verses 1 and 2, that is what will prepare you to understand the rest of the chapter. The more you get prepared with these two verses, the better you will receive the higher energy and the messages given by Krishna later on. Arjuna is truly seeking. But if you are not seeking and if you are just reading it like a story, now how will you get the message from the Krishna, a message which Krishna is trying to give? So that is why a little extra time is being spent on verses 1 and 2. Okay. So now we'll do the Nididhyasana meditation. Sit in a relaxed way. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. As you breathe deeply, feel the divine vibrations. With every breath, I'm going deeper and deeper into myself. beyond this body, beyond these various emotions, beyond these thoughts, lies my Supreme Self. From this moment onwards, I choose to do all my duties with 100% willingness. I choose the path of the higher with complete willingness. I choose to purify my intentions in each and every action which I perform. I am one with that infinite being. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So in the meditation, it was mentioned that I choose to do all my duties with 100% willingness. That is the sadhana sadhana principle which we derive from niyogya. Niyogya means the opposite of that, forcing. So you should use this wisdom to build that willingness in your mind to perform all your duties to perfection, to do all the positive things in life. Don't say, I don't have the willingness and stop doing the positive things. Don't say, I don't have the willingness and stop doing the sadhana. You know that these are the things which will help you. Now start doing them willingly. Condition your mind in a positive way. From negative conditioning, you need to move to positive conditioning. And then you can go beyond negative and positive to the infinite. That is how you progress. Okay? And many people have been asking for the Prana Tattva online course. So I think that is ready and it is already available now. So you all can make use of it, get empowered, and there are 12 special meditations which you should practice after the empowerment course is over. 12 meditations each day, one. The schedule, everything is covered there. So you can start practicing them. Those of you who will be, who want to do the Prana Tattva again, or even the Kaya Tattva, remember one thing, don't consider it as a repeat course. See, empowerment is always fresh. Every time you do that course, you are getting empowered in a fresh way. From one level, you will be moving to the next level. One layer of ignorance will be removed. One layer of karma will be burnt up. So, in these empowerment courses, just because you're doing that same course again, that doesn't mean you're repeating it. First time, you will understand and you will receive the energy in one way. Second time, it will be totally different. Third time, it will be again totally different. So bring that freshness. It is already there. You just have to not fall into this trap of thinking I'm repeating the course. Empowerments are never repeated. Every time it is a new empowerment. Remember that. Then only you will get the full benefit of the course. Okay? So next week we will continue with these wonderful questions which Arjuna is asking. The questions per se may not be so wonderful, but the fact that he is asking that is wonderful. That's what I mentioned to you today. Otherwise, we would not be getting this great wisdom. Okay? So, thank you very much. Hari Om.